Alright guys, here's going to be your fourth police-ish vehicle test drive of the day. So this is my 1996 Ford Bronco. Little backstory on this thing. So it started life as a fire inspector's vehicle in 96. So this was already a vehicle that was in service for a public service, we'll say, okay? Then it ended up at auction. It ended up at a buddy's dealer. Then another buddy ended up buying it. And my other buddy, which is my next door neighbor, way on the other side of the cornfield in those woods, he ended up with it, and he basically used it to plow his driveway. There was a plow on it. He used it to plow his driveway, and the thing was just a rotted out Orangus. I mean, this thing was just absolute junk when I got a hold of it. And I give him $1,000 for it, and he's like, Sean, what are you gonna do with this thing? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. Use it for a backup plow vehicle, I guess. So I decided I can't drive anything around that looks horrible. Okay, I could do a little ugly because I'm a little ugly, but I can't do horrible. Okay, so I gave it the old Pisseroni hack and pack. Put lower fenders on it. Doors were fine. Fixed this rocker panel. Fixed this area here. Wheel wall panel. Fixed this area here, which I bought panels right off of eBay. Alright, so, I mean, it worked out. I got a used bumper for it. Used gate, which was pretty beat up, but I kind of gave it the old hack and pack. And then same thing on this side. Rebuilt both of these quarter panels. This side's got a brand new rocker, new lower fender on it. I didn't paint the whole vehicle. I painted it from right there down with acrylic enamel. If you look close enough, I don't even know if the camera's gonna pick it up, but right there is where I run the tape line. So I just ran it right across there. Boop. Both sides. And this is enamel. So this is single stage, and it matched that good. Right there, you can see it. Right there. Put a driver floorboard in it, which I hand built the floorboard. The the rear floor in it was just totally junk. So I hand built the rear floor for it. The rear window didn't work in it. Got the rear window to, believe it or not, work with my own little setup here. 302 in it. Nice Goodyear Wranglers on it. Let's take it for a ride. So this thing is, basically it's used for parades only. I very rarely drive it. It is registered and insured under my antique car policy. But I really don't drive it. Okay? I'd like to drive it more, but we don't want to get in too much trouble. The parades, that's one thing, but, you know, running it around town just randomly, nah. It needs a little bit of exhaust work. The fuel tank leaks in it, oil pan leaks in it, things like that, but, I mean, it is a 96. None of this is functionable, alright? This is just a control panel and stuff I had kicking around, just for when people look at it for the parades. The red lights I just have hooked up to that toggle switch, and then we just have some little random generic siren system in it. But you hear the exhaust, obviously. It's it doesn't sound great. One manifold's been done, the other one needs to be done. So let's take it for a little ride. It's old. It's 96 it's got 176,000 miles on it. I don't know if the trip odometer actually works in it. So since I've owned this vehicle in a year and a half, I've put 2,019 miles on it. I probably should have checked the oil before we left, but I did not. And we're just going to do the same thing. We're just going to run to the end of the road and hit the little quick turnaround. Like I said, I don't really like driving this thing a whole lot unless it's for parades or strictly for servicing the vehicle. You know, it is a very realistic looking patrol vehicle. So you have to be kind of careful. Even though it is vintage, there's black and white areas with something like this, and there's gray areas. But I'm very responsible when it comes to this kind of stuff. Definitely not looking for trouble. But it is definitely a hit for the parades. People love it. Well, like anything that's old, the steering is all sloppy on it. It does shift well, obviously. It stops well. The steering's a little loose, not horrible. A little fumey. Got to get that exhaust manifold done on it. Vehicle is registered and insured underneath my classic car policy. It literally costs me less than $200 a year to have this thing registered and insured. So that works out extremely well. Had the top off it a few times. So from what I understand, the top had never been off this thing until I owned it. I didn't even take the top off it to do the paint work. But the top was off it for a good part of the summer. I had it in 2 or 3 parades with the top off. But now we're getting into changing weather. I have been keeping it inside my pole barn, but that pole barn was not built to be a storage facility for my toys. So that, and when it's time to do concrete, I don't want to have to move a million things out of there. So only the stuff with no tops are in there right now. Won't hurt this thing to sit out in the rain. Just got to keep it out of the salt. Does run good for the miles it's got on it. I love these old government vehicles. I mean, this one obviously hasn't been used for any governmental or, you know, public service work in many years, but at least until they're sold, from when they're bought new till they're sold from any government agency, the vehicles are taken care of pretty well. Yeah, they get beat on, they get abused, but they're fixed. So that's a big plus versus just some random person buying it and pounding the crap out of it its whole life and not servicing it the way it's supposed to be. I would much rather buy government vehicles any day of the week. And honestly, out of the couple dozen I've owned, I've only been burnt on one, which is the blue 16 Charger that's at my shop right now that needs at least a lifter put in it. And I can't even say I got burnt on that car because I bought it relatively cheap. There you are, 1996 Bronco. I'll show you guys the Siren real quick, how all that works, wherever it went, the hand controller. Like I said, this is just some generic eBay crappy siren controller. But it works. It's loud. The red lights. Alright guys, there you are. 96 Bronco. Y'all have a goody. I don't know what the next one's gonna be. We're gonna go pick something out over by the barn now. Off.